A poor boy was born under a strange fate. It was said, when he turns 14, he will marry the king's daughter. When the king heard this, his face darkened. A poor boy? Marry his daughter? Never. So he took the child, sealed him in a box, and threw him into a raging river. But fate doesn't break that easily. The river carried the box to a kind miller. The boy lived and grew. Years later, the king crossed paths with the boy again. This time, he didn't recognize him. But when he learned who he was, fear returned. So he wrote a letter, sealed it, and gave it to the boy. Take this to the queen. The boy obeyed. But the letter said, kill this boy immediately. On the way, he rested in a village. While he slept, curious villagers opened the letter, read it, and changed it. Now it said, marry this boy to the princess. By the time he reached the palace, it was too late. The wedding was done. When the king returned, rage burned in his eyes. But he smiled, hid it, and said, if you wish to stay married, bring me 3 golden hairs from the devil. A task no one survives. But the boy didn't argue. I'll go. On his journey, he met 3 strange problems. A village where a well had dried up. A tree that no longer gave fruit. A ferryman trapped, rowing forever. Each asked him, if you meet the devil, ask him why. The boy nodded and carried their questions with him. At last, he reached a place no human should. The devil's home. But instead of the devil, he met his grandmother. She looked at him and sighed. If he sees you, you die. So she touched him and turned him into a tiny ant. She hid him in her dress. Don't move. Don't breathe loudly. The cave shook. Fire flickered. The devil entered. He stopped, sniffed the air. I smell a human. The grandmother didn't react. You imagine things. He growled, but laid his head in her lap. Slowly, he fell asleep. Carefully, she reached up and plucked the first golden hair. The devil roared awake. Who touched me? She calmed him. A bad dream. Then asked softly, why did a well dry up in a village? Half asleep, he muttered, a toad blocks the spring beneath, and drifted back to sleep. This time, he was more alert, more dangerous. Still, she reached again and plucked the second golden hair. The devil shot up, angrier, eyes searching the cave. Closer, closer. The tiny ant didn't move, not even a breath. She sighed. Another dream. You're restless. Then asked, why does a tree no longer bear fruit? He growled. A mouse is eating its roots. And slowly lay down again. One last time. Precise. Silent. She pulled the third golden hair. The devil roared again. But weaker now. Suspicious. But tired. Why do I keep dreaming? She whispered. Your thoughts trouble you. Then asked, why is a ferryman trapped forever? He muttered, because he never hands the oar to another fool. And fell into a deep sleep. The moment his breathing settled, she moved fast, pulled the ant from her dress, turned him back into a boy, and gave him the 3 golden hairs. Run. Now. He didn't look back. He ran through the cave, past fire, past shadows, toward the light. Behind him, a low growl echoed. But he was already gone. Already free. On his way back, he solved everything. Removed the toad water float again. Killed the mouse tree bloomed again. Told the ferryman give the ore. When the king saw the golden hairs, he was stunned. But greed took over. He wanted more. So he rushed to find the devil himself. He reached the river. Met the ferryman. Took the ore. The ferryman stepped away. And the king was left rowing. Forever. The boy returned. No longer poor. No longer powerless. But smarter than everyone who tried to destroy him. A poor woodcutter lived beside a dark forest. He had 3 daughters. The youngest daughter was named Molly Whuppie. Molly was small, clever, and fearless. The family was very poor. Winter arrived with freezing winds. Soon, there was almost no food left in the house. The parents became desperate. One night, they made a terrible decision. They secretly led the girls deep into the forest. The sisters trusted their parents completely. But when morning came, the parents were gone. The girls were alone in the woods. The oldest sister began to cry loudly. The middle sister trembled with fear. But Molly stayed calm. She told her sisters not to panic. The 3 girls wandered through the forest all day. Cold rain began to fall from the sky. The trees looked dark and endless. Strange animal sounds echoed around them. The sisters grew weaker and hungrier. Just as night arrived, Molly spotted a glowing light far away. The girls hurried toward the light. Soon, they discovered a huge stone castle. The castle stood alone in the middle of the forest. Its windows glowed orange like fire. The giant wooden doors slowly creaked open. The girls carefully stepped inside. A giant woman stood near the fireplace. She looked shocked to see the children. The woman whispered nervously. "This castle belongs to a giant," she said. "He eats humans." The sisters became terrified. But the giant's wife felt pity for them. She gave them warm soup and bread. The girls ate hungrily beside the fire. Suddenly, the ground began to shake. Heavy footsteps echoed outside the castle. The giant was returning home. The giant's wife quickly hid the girls in a bedroom. A massive creature entered the castle. He was taller than the ceiling beams. His beard looked wild and dirty. His eyes glowed like burning coal. The giant sniffed the air loudly. "I smell humans," he growled. The giant searched around the castle. But his wife lied to protect the girls. Finally, the giant sat down to eat dinner. After eating, he became sleepy. Before going to bed, he made a strange plan. He placed golden chains around the necks of his daughters. Then he tied straw ropes around the necks of the 3 girls. The giant whispered to himself, "At midnight, I will kill the humans." Molly secretly heard everything. She stayed awake while everyone slept. The castle became silent and dark. Carefully, Molly crept out of bed. She quietly switched the chains and ropes. Now the giant's daughters wore the straw ropes. The girls wore the golden chains instead. Molly hurried back into bed. At midnight, the giant woke up. He walked through the darkness carrying a huge club. Without looking carefully, he grabbed the children with straw ropes. The giant killed his own daughters by mistake. The castle became silent once again. Early the next morning, Molly woke her sisters. The girls escaped before the giant discovered the truth. They ran through the forest as fast as possible. Hours later, the giant found the mistake. His furious roar shook the entire forest. The sisters finally reached home safely. Their parents were shocked to see them alive. But the family was still poor and hungry. Molly knew she had to do something brave. A few days later, she returned to the giant's castle alone. The giant was sleeping heavily beside the fire. Near him lay a magical sword. The sword could cut through anything. Molly quietly stole the sword and escaped. When the giant woke up, he became furious again. But Molly had already disappeared into the forest. A few nights later, Molly returned again. This time, she saw a magical purse beside the giant. The purse created endless gold coins. Molly carefully grabbed the purse. The giant suddenly opened one eye. Molly quickly hid behind a chair. After a tense moment, the giant fell asleep again. Molly escaped with the purse. Soon, her family finally had enough food to survive. But Molly still wanted one final treasure. She returned to the castle for the third time. The giant now slept with a magical ring on his finger. The ring granted power and wealth. Molly slowly pulled the ring from his hand. But this time, the ring magically shouted, "Master! A thief is stealing me!" The giant instantly woke up roaring with rage. Molly sprinted out of the castle. The giant chased her across the forest. Trees crashed behind him as he ran. Molly raced through rivers and rocky hills. The giant came closer with every step. Finally, Molly reached a narrow stone bridge near the king's kingdom. The king's guards saw the giant approaching. The soldiers blocked the bridge. The giant charged forward angrily. The bridge cracked beneath his enormous weight. Suddenly, the giant lost his balance. He fell deep into the river below. The giant disappeared forever. The kingdom celebrated Molly's bravery. The king invited Molly to his palace. He praised her cleverness before everyone. Molly and her family were rewarded with wealth and safety. People across the kingdom told stories about her courage. Molly Whuppie became famous forever.